Let's take a look at what a streaming media sourcebook directory listing looks like and some of the key features that it will do for your company. So on streamingmedia.com, we have a navigation bar here. The quickest way to get to the directory is by hovering over resources and clicking on industry directory. So in here, what we have is an alphabetically sorted list of all of the companies that appear in the streaming media industry sourcebook. Now, these companies also have a print presence in addition to this online presence here. We do have different ways of sorting these directory listings to make them very, very useful for buyers. For instance, we're going to take a look at the Akamai listing here, but just before we do that, you'll notice the product and services and industry vertical buckets. Now, this is how streaming media buckets our content. So if I'm in the business and I'm looking for a supplier for OTT video, one of the ways that people will get to the list of companies that provide those products and services is very simply by clicking there. Now, when we write an article about OTT video, the sourcebook listings that are appropriate will attach themselves to that content, and I'll show you a little bit about that in this video. But for sake of time, let's navigate back here and let's take a look at what Akamai had for a premium directory listing in their online presence. So what we see here is the company information and direct, fast contact information, which is very useful for buyers to connect to the sellers. A profile here, description of products and services, and links. This can be gated content, and of course we can feature your video. Now, all of this content is something that you can edit 12 months of the year. Now, here's where things get really interesting, is our editorial picks up the fact that you have a directory listing and attaches those associations together. If we take a look at here, this section, articles mentioned, you'll notice that there are a list of articles, and this is actually quite comprehensive. Every article that has mentioned the word Akamai dating back to the year 2000 will be accessible from here. But if we write an article and we mention a company, Akamai, in this example again, let me show you what happens. So here's an article that was recently posted on January the 7th. Now, under here, in this section here, you see this companies mentioned. An expanded way of saying this is companies mentioned that have a source book listing. So that gives people a very quick access to company information that they're reading about. So here you can see there's a text instance of Akamai. With that, instantly, our CMS system picks up this directory listing, so while people are reading an article, they can go and find out a lot more about this company. And that's one of the key benefits for having a source book directory listing. Now, that sounds great, but what kind of exposure are we talking about here? Well, to give you an example, this is a screenshot of our traffic over the last 12 months. We're talking about over 1,700,000 people using streamingmedia.com and chewing up over 3.6 million pages of content. Now, this content on streamingmedia.com is not for the faint of heart. This is extremely high-level content that talks about technology and focuses on business. So this is for very keen buyers who really understand what they're talking about. Having a sourcebook listing attached to that kind of content is critical in an environment where buyers and sellers are coming and going through a revolving door. Now, how many people actually went to streamingmedia.com sourcebook, that parent directory that I showed you that's accessible here? Well, over the past 12 months, and if you can see this screenshot here, we're talking 65,000 plus page views. So there's only really one reason to come to streamingmedia.com/sourcebook, and that's to find sellers. So again, I can't stress the importance enough for having a sourcebook listing. Just to reiterate, this is also a print product as well, This is an example of what Akamai's premium listing looked like in the 2015 Sourcebook. And we'll see, of course, a lot more of these listings, and we'll be pushing this community of qualified sellers out to our qualified buyers and hopefully building that bridge for you to do business in 2016. Thanks for your attention.